Okay, in this lesson, we will be looking at an academic IELTS reading section. This material is taken from IELTS curriculum book. This is reading passage 2 from page 133 called Why Study Philosophy? In this lesson, we're going to look at some of the specific skills that you need to use for questions like list of headings, paragraph completion, and multiple choice during the exam. So we will try to do this fairly similar to the real exam situation. So in 20 minutes plus a bit of time for some explanation. Okay, so now turn to page 132 in the curriculum book. And remember, the first step when we're doing a reading is to have a quick look at the questions to see which questions are okay to read and which questions we should just wait to look at until after we read the passage. So the first question in reading passage 2 is a list of headings question. Now with list of headings, it's okay to skim read even though there's some extra information, because this will give you a general idea of the reading passage. So list of headings, reasons as the basis for knowledge, the relation between reasons and math, the end goals of empirical pursuits, is Socrates a man or a mortal? Philosophy as the pursuit of knowledge and truth. Math versus reason, the differences, using the right tool, a central debate in education, the lack of practicality as philosophy's downfall, the value of education and practice, and purity as beauty. Okay, great. So clearly this passage will be about philosophy and what is philosophy and why is philosophy studied. Now if we flip to the next questions, we see that the next one is a completing the summary. Again, remember, completing the summary, all of this information is paraphrased from the passage, so it's a good one to skim read real quickly. Again, you don't have to read in detail, you don't need to understand it all, just quickly skim read the question. Philosophy teaches us how to reason, which in turn can help us deconstruct something. Students schooled in the precepts of reason are able to differentiate between an argument which follows from the given premises and one that does not and is something. Force of opinion has no impact on the something of the opinion. This is because forcefulness is the wrong something for the job of convincing someone of a viewpoint. In physical battles, the correct implement is blank. In discursive arguments, it is blank alone, which leads to truth. Okay, then after this, I'm looking at question 25 and 26. So this is on page 135 again. I can see right away that this is multiple choice, so I will not read the multiple choice question simply because it's going to confuse me. There are at least 3 wrong answers there. So I'm going to leave that one till after I'm done reading the passage. Okay, so now my next step is to go back and have a look at the title of this passage. The title of the passage is Why Study Philosophy? So, of course, it's a question here, and we need to think about, again, the what, the why, and the how. So some good critical thinking about the topic. So what is philosophy? Well, philosophy is a little bit different from science. It doesn't look for as much empirical or visible evidence. Instead, it's based on arguments, on ideas, on possibilities, on possible realities, and on just different ways to understand the same idea or same topic between speakers. So why study philosophy? Well, as most of us probably heard at some time, philosophy is considered the grandfather of science. So this means that studying philosophy is an important skill for developing our knowledge and our ability to develop thought and science. And how? Well, if we think of some examples in the past of people debating about maybe being able to fly, and eventually this happened, we built an airplane. So some arguments, some debates that create ideas such as flight, and then eventually this becomes a type of reality. So, all right, we've thought about the topic, we collected some good information, we prepared our mind to understand this information well as we read. So now let's read the passage and answer the questions. The first question that we're going to answer is the list of headings. Now, list of headings is the only question that you should answer as you read, okay? Every other question you should answer after you have finished reading. So, this is techniques during the reading section in the exam. Okay, and the first technique here is list of headings. Now, the list of headings, if we think about this question, we realize that it's trying to find the what answer. So what is each paragraph about? Again, if you look at questions, simplify them. Is it a what question? Is it a why question? Is it a how question? This makes it more easy to figure out the correct answer. So these are what questions, simply asking what is the paragraph about, or what is the best title for the paragraph, okay? So the first point here is it's the only question that you should answer as you read. And the way to do this is after you finish reading a paragraph, don't look at the answers, just simply ask yourself, what is this paragraph about? Give the answer yourself, and then find the answer which matches closest to your own answer, and that will probably be the correct answer. So you'll see this in a minute. So the correct technique is read a paragraph, and ask yourself, what is this paragraph about? So ask yourself this question, then give an answer, and then find the correct match. Let's see how this works with our example passage. Okay, paragraph A. There are two schools of thought when it comes to education. One side believes that education should give students tools for success in life, while the other side believes that education itself is an important goal. No area of study brings this debate to a head more than the study of philosophy. Philosophy, for those who belong to the practical side of the debate, is another waste of time. Philosophy provides very few tools for success in life, they say. A common question for someone studying philosophy is, what are you going to do with it? Those on the other side of the debate, those who value education for knowledge itself, can see that the study of philosophy has many important benefits. Then I stop and I ask myself, what is this paragraph about? Okay, as from the paragraph, especially the beginning, that's where we see the answers to the what questions. This paragraph is about two different beliefs. One, that education should be to teach skills for success, and the other, that education should teach knowledge for its own purpose. So that's what this paragraph is about. Okay, let's look at the list of headings, and then let's see if any of them match what I just said. So 1, reasons as the basis for knowledge, no. The relation between reasons and math, no. End goals of empirical pursuits, no. Is Socrates man or immortal? No. Philosophy as the pursuit of knowledge and truth, no. Math versus reason, the differences. Using the right tool. A central debate in education. That one seems to be correct because debate means argument. And the argument here is, what is the goal of education? So here I'm going to choose the Roman numeral 8 or VIII as my correct answer. Okay? And I don't cross it out because perhaps it will be a better answer for a different paragraph. But right now, for me, it looks like for paragraph 8, the best answer is VIII. So the example here is paragraph A describes two different beliefs. Therefore, the best answer is a central debate in philosophy. Okay, now let's go through the rest of the passage, stopping after each paragraph and repeating the same technique, asking ourselves, what is the paragraph about, giving an answer, and then matching the best answer with our own answer. Again, remember that usually the answers come from the top part of the paragraph, not always, but usually, because that's where the what information or the topic sentence is given. Okay, so let's have a look at that. All right, paragraph B. The word philosophy derives from the Greek word love of wisdom. Just as it was in ancient Greece, it is those people who love wisdom, knowledge, and truth who study philosophy. However, we do not live in ancient Greece, where people had slaves to do all of their chores, such as working in the fields. So what place does philosophy have in today's society? Okay, so what is this paragraph about? This paragraph is about the definition of philosophy, which is the love of wisdom or the love of truth. Okay, let's look at the answers. Reason as the basis of knowledge, no. The relation between reason and math, no. The end goals of empirical pursuit, is Socrates man or mortal? Philosophy as the pursuit of knowledge and truth. That looks right because it's the definition and that matches with this topic. So I'm going to choose the Roman numeral 5, V, philosophy as the pursuit of truth, of knowledge and truth. Okay, let's look at paragraph C. If philosophy teaches us anything, it teaches the ability to reason. With reason, one can construct, analyze, and find faults in arguments. For example, if all men are mortal, and Socrates is mortal, is Socrates a man? What if we change the question to, if all men are mortal, and Socrates is a man, is Socrates mortal? Once a student is schooled in the ability to reason, he will see right away that these two questions are very different. As it turns out, the first is an invalid argument, while the second is very much valid. Perhaps the next question of the skeptic is, what is the value of reason? This is a very important question. Surely, if philosophy is all about learning and to reason, then an ability to reason must be a valuable trait. Arguably, the ability to reason forms the foundation for all knowledge. Okay, so what is this paragraph about? This paragraph is about the importance of the ability to reason. So it gives the example of Socrates, but that's more of a how. This is a little bit of a tricky paragraph where the how comes before the what. So careful with this type of paragraph. Here, if I ask myself, what is it about? Then the answer is about the purpose or the value of reason. So let's have a look at the list of headings. First one, reason as the basis for knowledge. And that seems to be right away the correct answer, because this paragraph is talking about the fact that reason is valuable because it is the method or the way to seek and find knowledge. So I'm not even going to continue. I'm going to choose I or Roman numeral 1 here and go on. Okay, the next paragraph, paragraph D. If an individual holds an opinion which is believed wrong or incorrect, it could be important to convince them of the right opinion. There are a number of ways to attempt this. They can be intimidated, belittled, or bullied into accepting the opposite opinion. However, having a strong opinion does not mean the opinion is any more correct. Many people have strong opinions on all manner of subjects, but of course, strength of feeling does not correspond to validity. And it follows that someone who belittles another's opinion is not necessarily the one in the right. When two men engage in a fist fight over whose opinion is correct, the winner of the fight may not have the correct opinion, but merely the correct fighting technique. In any disagreement, the right tools must be employed. In a battle of brawn, the tool is strength. In a battle of wills, the tool is perseverance. In a battle of words, the tool is reason. When arguing with reason, facts of the matter are stated and conclusions are drawn from those facts accordingly. So, again, what is this paragraph about? Well, it's talking about strength in fighting, or talking about perseverance if it's a battle of will, and words if it's a battle of reason. So it's talking about what tools are used for what kind of battles. All right, let's have a look at our list of headings and see which one matches this idea. First one, reasons is the basis of knowledge. No. The relationship between reason and math. No. The end goals of empirical pursuits. No. Is Socrates man or mortal? Philosophy as the pursuit of knowledge. Math versus reason. Using the right tool. Okay, using the right tool is the one that matches for sure. And we can see here that it is the example which is given for us. So this is how we know that we're on the right track, because the example that's given is the same as what we thought the answer should be as well. It's a good way to check whether you're doing this technique correctly or not. Does the example match with your own ideas? All right, let's continue on to paragraph E. Reason is fundamental to almost every intellectual endeavor one can imagine, just as mathematics is fundamental to almost every scientific endeavor. Maths is the language of science, just as reason is the language of discourse and debate. Accordingly, just as science needs experts in mathematics, so society needs experts in reason. The argument should follow that as we all learn mathematics as children and young adults, so we should learn the precepts of reason. Again, what is this paragraph about? This paragraph is about the comparison between math and reason, or math and philosophy. So let's see if any of these match. I believe I saw something like this in the list. If we look at indeed answer 6, VI, maths versus reason, the differences. Is it the differences? Not so much, so careful here. I'm going to go back. Reason as the basis of knowledge. The relation between reason and maths, that looks like a much better answer. So careful, sometimes there are tricky answers that are similar. So here the correct answer is 2, which is II, the relation between reasons and math. It's because math is not different from reason, it's similar, and that's what this paragraph explains. Okay, final paragraph. So, F. Above all, philosophy is pure. Certainly, reason is useful in all areas of life, but that does not mean that philosophy's value lies only in its usefulness in the day-to-day. Philosophy is the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge. There's a beautiful human quality expressed in this. Every other academic discipline is knowledge for some empirical pursuit. For example, engineering is knowledge so that we can construct buildings, chemistry is knowledge so that we can make drugs, and biology is knowledge so that we can stay healthy. Philosophy has no tangible outcome outside of the pure pursuit of knowledge. The only other discipline which comes close in this regard is mathematics. One is purity in numbers, and the other is purity in words. All right, so what is this about? This is mostly about the idea of studying philosophy or even math, not for its utility or its usefulness, but simply because it's a pure piece of knowledge. So it's our pursuit of knowledge for knowledge itself. It's the amazing study of just pure ideas. All right, let's see which heading closest matches. Reasons is the basis of knowledge. No. The relationship between math and reason. The end goals, is Socrates man or mortal? Philosophy as the pursuit of knowledge and truth. No. Math versus reason, differences, using the right tool. Essential debate, the lack of practicality in philosophy's downfall. No, it doesn't talk about the negatives there. The value of education and practice, purity as beauty. It's a tricky one. I'm going to go with purity as beauty, which is number 11, just because there's so much emphasis on philosophy being amazing for being pure. It seems like the best answer. I'm going to stay with it. Even if I'm wrong, I don't worry about it. As long as I have most of my answers correct, that's great. And I go on and look at the next question, which is the summary completion. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so now let's look at the summary completion question. And I'm going to describe a couple of techniques and skills that you should use for this. So summary completion questions often come from one paragraph, but they can also come from several paragraphs. Now, they do come in order. So the first question should come earlier in the passage, the next one after, and the last question will be at near the latest part in that passage, so in that paragraph or the paragraphs. Okay, let's look at our example and that will make more sense. So again, we're looking at paragraph completion. And just some basic techniques. So one or more paragraphs. and answers come in sequence. So again, the answers come in order, okay? Now, the first tip I'm going to give you here is it's very important that you try to get the first answer correct, because that will give you a mark or an indication of where the next answers will be coming after. So it's especially important to get the first answer correct. So if it takes a little bit more time to get the first answer correct, then take some extra time. That will help you to find the next answers. So make sure to get the first answer correct. So again, take extra time on that one if you need to. Now, the next point that you should pay attention to with these summary completion is look at the words that come before and after the space. So the context is very, very important, and the words that come before and after will tell you what the word form is, whether it's an adjective or a noun or a verb or an adverb that goes into the blank. Plus, usually what happens is if you find the paraphrase of the word that's before or after, then you should have no problem finding the correct answer. So pay special attention to words that come before and after the space. Okay. Now, again, remember that these words give you the word form. So these are paraphrased. They hint the word form and context. Okay, so keep that in mind as you go along. I'm going to show you with our example from the reading passage. So here we go. Questions 19 to 24. Write the correct letters A to K in boxes 19 to 24 on your answer sheet. Number 19. So philosophy teaches us how to reason, which in turn can help us deconstruct something. Students schooled in the precepts of reason are able to differentiate. Okay, so here we're looking for information about philosophy teaching us to reason and what that allows us to do. Now, here we have a box with possible choices at the bottom, which are A, invalid, B, correct, C, thoughts, and so on. You don't always have this box, so be careful. And sometimes the box is actually not too helpful because there's a lot of extra or false information. So again, be careful with those words. The best is go back to the passage. Now, I remember reading in a couple of places in the passage about how philosophy is the science or the idea of reasoning. So let me just go back there. And indeed, if I look at paragraph C, this is where I first see this information. So if philosophy teaches us anything, it teaches the ability to reason. Again, this is paragraph C. With reason, one can construct, analyze, and find faults in arguments. Okay, so it tells us what reason allows us to do, and that gives us the answer. The answer here seems to be arguments. So philosophy teaches us how to reason, which in turn can help us deconstruct arguments. So it means understand arguments. This seems to make sense. So I'm going to choose H, put it into my answer booklet, and keep going. Again, deconstruct, the word that comes before, so this is hint C here. The word that comes before deconstruct means break down. And if we look at the paragraph C, it means analyze and find faults. Analyze is a synonym of deconstruct in this situation. So if you can match these two synonyms, deconstruct and analyze, then you will know that in the blank, you're looking for the noun arguments, okay? All right, let's keep going. Students schooled in the precepts or in the precepts of reason are able to differentiate between an argument which follows from the given premises and one that does not and is something. So look at the context here. It says that differentiate between an argument which follows from the given premises and one that does not and is. So this is some quality of the argument, maybe false. Okay, let's look at the answers here. A, invalid. B, correct. Thoughts, truth, perseverance. Well, I remember that the ability to reason teaches us to know which arguments are valid, which are invalid. So I think I'm just going to choose A, invalid here. If I really need to, I can check in the passage to see if it says this. But again, for a good reading score, you should not have to look at the passage for every answer. So I'm just going to go with invalid. It makes sense in the context, and I'm going to go on. Force of opinion has no impact on the something of the opinion. Again, I remember that very visual example of the fighters. When people are fighting, just because one guy wins doesn't mean that their opinion is better than the other person's. It can simply mean that they're just stronger. So here again in the context, so we're looking again at the context of the information. I can figure out that the answer here is on the truth of the opinion. So let's see if there's a word like that in there. Yes, so D looks like it would work. Force of opinion has no impact on the truth of the opinion. Sure, yeah, because just because somebody is able to prove their strength doesn't mean that they have proved their truth. So force of opinion has no impact on the truth of the opinion. This is because forcefulness is the wrong something for the job of convincing of someone of a viewpoint. I'm not too sure what this might be. So I can look back at the passage, maybe think about a synonym for wrong, like incorrect or false or something like that. So here, so we're looking for question number 22. In any disagreement, the right tools must be employed. In a battle of brawn, the tool is strength. In a battle of wills, the tool is perseverance. Okay, so let's go back here. This is because forcefulness is the wrong tool for the job. So again, a noun is missing from this space. Let's see if there's any word like that. Yes, L is tool, so I'm going to put L into the answer sheet. All right, let's continue on. In physical battles, the correct implement is strength. I'm not going to look at the passage. I know that here the passage describes that the correct implement is strength. So I'm going to just go with G, put that into my answer key, and move on. In discursive arguments, it is something alone which lead to truths. I remember it was something about words. In discursive truths, it is words. Is there anything like that in there? No. So maybe thoughts which lead to the truth, or maybe reason alone which lead to the truth. The whole goal of this passage is to emphasize the importance of reason in philosophy. So I'm going to go with J, reason. I think it's the best answer. Again, I don't want to waste too much time searching for all of the answers. I think reason makes sense in the context. I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to believe my answer is correct. I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm going to go on. Okay, so let's look at the last two questions of this reading passage, which are multiple choice. Now, again, for multiple choice, remember, do not read them before the passage because they can confuse you. So there are some extra answers and questions. So again, some techniques for multiple choice. Okay, for multiple choice, the first and most important technique always is look at the paraphrasing when possible. So look at the paraphrasing in the questions and the answers. Now, again, remember that IELTS will use several different kinds of paraphrasing techniques. So they can use synonyms, antonyms, negatives, expressions, descriptions, and so on. So multiple choice, especially when they're near the end of the passage's questions, they can get quite tricky with the paraphrasing. So one technique is to look for this paraphrasing. Also for multiple choice, often you might need to have information from a few different parts of the passage to be able to answer it correctly. So again, with multiple choice, skimming and scanning is not always an effective method. All right. Again, you want to look for the paraphrasing and at several parts of the passage. So questions 25 to 26 in our example. Question number 25, mathematics and reason are A, opposites, B, analogs, C, complementary disciplines, D, unrelated, but both important. All right, again, I should use my own mind first. So use your own mind first. The reason that this is very important to use your own mind or your own thinking, a lot of times students believe that the passage will give them the answer. No, the answers will be achieved with your own thinking. Your brain is your source of power, so use that. I remember that the passage compares mathematics and reasons, especially in one of the paragraphs. I definitely remember that it's not opposite, so I can eliminate incorrect answers. And that's something else that you can apply with multiple choice. So eliminate incorrect answers. And usually there are one or two that are clearly incorrect. But again, it's a university level test, so sometimes there might be two or three answers which seem correct, and you need to choose the best answer. So B, analogs, C, complementary disciplines, D, unrelated but both important. So make sure to read all of your answer choices because again, you're looking for the best answer. So they're definitely not opposites. Complementary disciplines, complement means that they help each other. We maybe use math and philosophy. Might be true, but I don't remember reading anything about that. Unrelated, but both important. So they're not connected, but both important. Again, could be true. Analog means that they're similar. That seems to be the right answer. I remember that we were reading about this near the end, so in paragraph E, and it says, math is the language of science, just as reason is the language of discourse and debate. Accordingly, just as science needs experiments in mathematics, so society needs experts in reason. So I think the best answer here is going to be B, analogs, means that they're similar to each other. Okay? Let's look at 26. What differentiates philosophy from sciences is that. So here we're looking for a cause and effect relationship. So philosophy is different from sciences because is another way to understand this question. So sometimes in the multiple choice, you're looking for a sentence ending or a relationship. So make sure that when you have this, notice the relationship. So notice the relationships between the question and answers. Okay, it's very, very important. So here it's cause and effect. Okay, again, the answers come in sequence, so this should be coming after the last one. So here we can keep looking that above all, philosophy is pure. And I remember reading about this, that other sciences that it lists like biology and chemistry, we learn them so that we can apply them to making drugs or healing people. But math and philosophy are different because they seek knowledge for its purity. So A, philosophy isn't concerned with truth, and I don't think that's true. B, philosophy is done by heart while science is done by the mind. I think philosophy is done by the mind as well. Philosophy has no definite aim. Philosophy is practical. C, I believe, is the right answer here. Science always has a direct purpose, some kind of invention or discovery. Philosophy doesn't always have this reason, and the passage tells us that. So the answer here is C. Okay, now if you wish, you can read the whole passage again and just see how I arrived at these answers. And then I'm going to show you the answer key for the questions right now, so you can check your answers, make sure that they're all correct, make sure that you have the same answers. Okay, so let's have a look at the answer key now. Okay, so this was another example of how to correctly do a reading passage during the IELTS exam.